We have often heard people saying that life is not black and white, it has shades of itself. But for the Dalits in India, it was black and dark until a hand held them tight till the uprising. Yes, on his 131st birth anniversary, I, Ankita Tomar from Elec Institute, is here to present you his life archives and his contribution to the mighty nation that we are today. Born in a low-caste Mahar family of Mau, Madhya Pradesh, he was son of a British Army Subedar. He was the last among the 14 siblings. Originally named as Bhimrao Ambedkar, this boy led a great journey from Bhimrao Ambedkar to Bhimrao Ambedkar to the Dalit hero Baba Sahib. Ambedkar was a bright kid and he always liked studying. Father, being a British Army Subedar, presented him an opportunity to study in the schools, but not without being discriminated. Yes, it's tough to imagine someone sitting on a pedestal today was once downtrodden. So downtrodden that he had to switch his careers a number of times. The level of humiliation that he had to go through during his school life was immense. He had to sit on a gunny bag in the school apart from other children. And that's not it. He did not even have the basic right of drinking water on his own. जी हाँ, पानी पीने जैसे एक बेसिक अधिकार तक की अनुमति नहीं थी उन्हें. उन्होंने अपनी एक किताब में कहा है, नो प्यून नो वाटर. एक प्यून था, अगर वो प्यून किसी दिन स्कूल नहीं आया करता था तो उन्हें उस दिन प्यासा ही रहना पड़ता था. लेकिन फिर भी अंबेडकर ने पढ़ाई के प्रति अपनी रुचि को छोड़ा नहीं. उन्हें पढ़ना पसंद था और उनके समाज को उनकी उन्नति पसंद थी. पर क्या दोनों बातें एक थी? पर क्या दोनों की सोच एक थी? जी नहीं. जहां उनका समाज उनकी चौथी कक्षा में पास होने पर एक उत्सव मनाना चाहता था, वहीं अंबेडकर के सपने अलग थे. सोचिए क्या हालत और हालात रहे होंगे उस समाज के जिन्हें चौथी कक्षा में अच्छे अंक लाने वाले बच्चे की सफलता इतनी अच्छी लग रही थी कि वो उसे एक जश्न में तब्दील कर देना चाहते थे. पर अंबेडकर अलग थे. उनकी सोच और उनकी उड़ान इससे कहीं ज्यादा ऊंची थी. हाउ डिड ही चेंज हिज नेम एंड बिकम अम्बेडकर? School teacher Keshav Ambedkar, who was a Brahmin, gave him his surname for the school record. Hence, his name from the school records was changed from Bhimrao Ambedkar to Bhimrao Ambedkar. He chose to study. He chose to leave every difficulty behind him, and he chose his books over every thorn in his way. With completing his high school, he took a very basic yet important step. In 1897, he completed his high school. In 1907, he went to Elphinstone College, Bombay, to his BA Economics. He was the only untouchable in that college, or I would say the first untouchable to enroll in the college as a student. After completing his graduation in 1912, he worked with the government of Baroda. In 1913, he availed a scholarship to Columbia University to complete his master's in economics. This scholarship was given under the scheme of Sayaji Rao Gaikwad III. In 1916, he did his second master's and also enrolled in Gray's Inn for the bar course. In 1917, he returned back to India as the scholarship had ended. In 1921, at the first given opportunity, he completed his post-graduation. In 1923, he did his DSc Economics from London School of Economics. कल्पना करके देखिए, जो इकोनॉमिक्स आज हमारे पसीने छुड़ा देती है, उस इकोनॉमिक्स के पसीने छुड़ाने में लगे हुए थे डॉक्टर B.R. Ambedkar in 1918. After returning to India in 1917, Ambedkar had to work as a military secretary to the Gaikwads because this was the rule of the scholarship that he had availed under the scheme of Sayaji Rao Gaikwad III. But he worked for a very short period with the Gaikwads. His interests were very different from them. But the question is, what happened that brought Ambedkar's attention to politics? Such an academic person, such a brilliant academician, economist, why did he turn his head towards politics? In 1917, after returning to India, he had a rough patch in his life. He worked as a private tutor, as a professor, as an accountant, and also started an investment consulting business. But everything failed. Everything failed because of his caste. 4 PhDs and numerous degrees failed him. Oh, I'm sorry, not his degrees. His caste failed him. The caste system failed him. Yes, the caste system was so tough on the Dalits those days that every profession that he tried to enter into looked down upon him. You would not believe that when he worked as a professor, the other professors had a problem drinking water with the same jug that Ambedkar used. So in 1918, he decided that he would turn his head towards the politics and change the very system that had downtrodden him and his people. His journey of changing the era started from the South Borough Committee that was drafting the Government of India Act 1919. There, for the first time, he demanded for a separate electorate and reservation for the untouchables. In 1920, he started publishing his periodicals and weekly. The first came in the name of Mukh Nayak, that is, leader of the silent, and the second came in the name of Barishkrit Bharat, and the third was Equality Janta. In 1924, he created Barishkrit Hitkarini Sabha, the founding principle of which was educate, organize, and agitate. In 1925, he was appointed with the commission by the Bombay Presidency Committee. और इसी के साथ अंबेडकर ने 1927 में खुलकर विद्रोह करना शुरू कर दिया, जिसकी पहल उन्होंने करी मनुस्मृति को जला करके। जी हाँ, आपने सही सुना, भारत की सभ्यता का सर्वप्रथम ग्रंथ मनुस्मृति को उन्होंने सार्वजनिक रूप से आग लगा दी और उसे मनुस्मृति दहन कहा गया। आज भी मनुस्मृति दहन मनाया जाता है उनके समाज द्वारा। वह मनुस्मृति को सुपुर्द खाक करने के बाद भी रुके नहीं, वह बड़े महद की ओर, महद सत्याग्रह की पहल करते हुए उन्होंने एक पब्लिक वेल से पानी पिया। ये लड़ाई पानी पीने की नहीं थी, ये लड़ाई थी उस अधिकार की जो उन्हें होना चाहिए था, एक पब्लिक वाटर टैंक से पानी पीने का, उनके समाज के लोगों को होना चाहिए था। और आप विश्वास नहीं मानेंगे कि लोगों ने पानी, जो कि दूसरी किसी चीज को शुद्धता प्रदान करता है, लोगों ने उस टैंक के पानी को शुद्ध करने की कोशिश करी। उस टैंक में दही, गंगा जल, ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं थी जो नहीं मिलाई, क्योंकि उन्हें लगा कि बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर के उसमें पानी पी लेने से और दलित समाज के लोगों के उसमें पानी पी लेने से उसमें अशुद्धता फैल गई है। सोचिए क्या मानसिकता रही होगी हमारी और हमारे देश की। 1930 में उन्होंने कालाराम सत्याग्रह की शुरुआत करी। एक लंबी भीड़ लेकर के वे अपने साथ नासिक के कालाराम मंदिर में गए और कहा कि आज हम पहली बार ईश्वर के दर्शन करना चाहते हैं। पर क्या हुआ? क्या उन्हें वो दर्शन मिले? जी नहीं। समाज के रचयिता, समाज का ध्यान रखने वाले लोगों ने उन्हें मंदिर में जाने नहीं दिया, एंड इट लेड टू अ ह्यूज केओस। देयर वर पुलिस फोर्सेस कॉल्ड इन टू टैकल दी दलित्स। पर धीरे ही सही सफलताएं मिलती रही। 1932 में उन्होंने पूना पैक्ट साइन किया डॉक्टर मदन मोहन मालवीय के साथ, एंड दैट वेरी पूना पैक्ट रिजर्व सीट्स फॉर द डिप्रेस्ड क्लासेस इन द प्रोविजनल लेजिस्लेचर। व्हाट शुड वी कॉल देम? उन्हें हम दलित कहें, अनटचेबल्स कहें, या कहें हरिजन? जहां दलितों को हरिजन बुला करके सम्मानित बताया जा रहा था, या मैं कहूं कि उन्हें बहलाया जा रहा था, वहीं अंबेडकर उनके नाम की और उनके पहचान की नींव रख रहे थे और उन्होंने पहल करी उनके नाम से। 1935 के गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट में पहली बार डिप्रेस्ड क्लासेस को SC एंड ST बुलाया गया, followed by Constitution of India 1950, which called the depressed classes scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Ambedkar was not only a social reformer, he was also an economic reformer. In 1935, he gave recommendations for the reformation of RBI and proposed 8 hours of working. As we all know, he was the chairman of the Constitutional Drafting Committee. Followed by that, he became the first law minister of the independent India. 35,000 किताबें थी उनकी लाइब्रेरी में, जिनमें से कुछ शायद उन देशों के संविधान भी थे जिन्हें पढ़ करके अंबेडकर ने हमारे देश का संविधान बनाया। He drafted our mighty constitution, though he did not believe in the democracy. He did not believe in the idea of democracy because the idea that was being followed was of political democracy and not of socio-economic democracy. And what he vouched for was socio-economic democracy. पर अपने काम को निडरता से और पूरी ऑनेस्टी के साथ करते हुए अंबेडकर ने हमें संविधान दिया, जिसमें उन्होंने पूरी तरह से कोशिश करी कि वो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स भी ला सके और लोगों के सोशल राइट्स को और इकोनॉमिक राइट्स को भी बचा करके रख सके। अंबेडकर was not one person. He was not just a professor or an academician or an economist. He was indeed a women's rights activist as well. He introduced maternity leaves for the women. He also vouched for equal opportunity to earn livelihood for the women, fought for the women to get right to property. And not only this, he also helped in the codification of the Hindu law. What was Ambedkar as a person? What were his interests? Ambedkar was interested in gardening. He loved his plants. He liked petting dogs, and he had a pet dog which when died, he cried for days together. And what could I say about his love for his books? He would never let anybody take his books away from his library. He always suggested people that if you want a book or if you want to read a book, please come to my library, read it here and leave it here. You are not allowed to take them. Such a simple man he was. So soft at his heart, yet rock hard in his head and his agendas. Ambedkar had very clear principles on leadership. He always believed that leaders should not be made demigods. He believed that putting your head up was much more important than fearing it of being chopped off. He believed that equality may not be served per se, but equal opportunity should be served. And with that, Ambedkar did not like demigods, so let us not make him one. Ambedkar had a very clear viewpoint of a leader. He believed that leaders should not be made demigods. So let us not make him a demigod. Today, he rests at the Chaitya Bhumi, Mumbai. But where he should not rest is our hearts and minds. His struggles and his ideologies of socio-economic independence should always keep us at constant unrest in order to achieve liberty, equality, and fraternity. Because, as he says, they can't make history who forget history. So let's hail Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat.